sorry, wrong
I don't know
one.
which
Stay where you are, we'll find the right one in a minute.
Okay, I'm Lorraine Moss and I'm from Rumford. Councillor, I'm sure you recall back in March, I asked the Cabinet, I raised the issue why Havering Council's special responsibility allowances paid for councillors were higher than the rest of London. And I'm sure you remember, you directed me to London Council's website.
Yep.
You actually pointed it out on your iPad. I'm also, you also may be aware that I recently submitted a Freedom of Information request, which basically was asking what is, a job description for councillors that have in receipt of these special responsibility allowances, and some idea of the hours that that they actually work.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that prompted this request was a couple of months ago, I believe it was at the September Ask the Cabinet. I wasn't here, but I watched it via the webcast, and a lady raised a question regarding directed to Robert Benham. Regarding the proposed closure of a day centre for vulnerable people, and she was asking Councillor Benham what information he would be relying on when he made this decision. And from Councillor Benham's reaction, it was quite evident from what I could see that he hadn't read or understood the paper. Now, my way of thinking is, if he's paid £32,000 a year special responsibility allowance, one would expect him to read and understand what he's voting for, especially when it's such an important issue. Well, my Freedom of Information request was refused. Now, it's then directed me back to London councils, and one of the things that I've noticed in London councils...
Can I ask, when you say refused on what grounds? Because
refused on what grounds? Because they don't have the information, which is...
They don't have the information for what?
Regarding the job description, the job description for roles of councillors within...
Well, all the job descriptions, as I understand it, and someone said it, correct me if I'm wrong, are published in the Constitution, which is on the website.
I've looked and I can't find it. I mean, if you can give me the link before I go,
okay,
or pass it on to me.
Perhaps I've got your email address, perhaps I'll get someone to send you the link. But the Constitution is on the website. All the job descriptions are in the Constitution, have to be there, are there. Sorry you're not able to navigate to that place, but I'll make sure that someone sends you the link.
Okay, and just another thing as well. One of the things that was revealed through my Freedom of Information request refusal is that nobody knows the amount of hours that these councillors in receipt of special responsibility allowances actually work. Now, on the same scheme that you base your level of allowances, there's also a section on page 2 about transparency and accountability. So, really, it's suggesting that, this information should be available. We're council taxpayers. We have the right to know, what our elected members are doing. Really and truly, it could be argued that people might have a bit more respect for you if you are working lots of hours. All we're asking is, what do you do? Which I think is a quite simple, not you individually. I don't expect you to go into a big detail now, but this information
I'll be here all night.
Available.
I just told you what I did yesterday. I'll be here all night to tell you. But, I think...
I know you see Boris quite a lot, and X Factor stars and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I also see that you're doing something for apprenticeships as well, which I thought was quite good. So I'm not always, on the negative. But I just think we should be entitled to know. Now, I emailed one member. I won't reveal who it is because he's asked me not to publish what he actually does. And in the information that he's provided me, instantly it's raised some very serious concerns. You've got one of your councillors who receives special responsibility allowance, who's basically not using his iPad as you suggested they should be used for. He's making site visits all across the whole borough, not recording this information. And these kinds of things are already being done by council officials anyway. So that's just one person. And all I would like to say is I would like to see this information readily available for the residents of Havering. Maybe it is in the Constitution somewhere, but usually there's information, I can usually find it. I couldn't find it there, and I have looked. So, I would like to ask you, do you not agree that if people understood what you did, maybe people wouldn't criticise you so much? Not you personally, but... Well, I think these special responsibility allowances are extremely high.
Yeah, well, I think that, as I've said before, in relation to the responsibility allowance, we, as a council, decided to go for the London scheme like many other councils, and I think the more councils that do that, the better. Then we'll get away from this difference between councils. I think that's absolutely right.
Well, you must admit, from a council taxpayer living in Havering, if you was on, if you put yourself in our shoes, wouldn't you be asking, really basically what's going on?
Well, I think
it even recommends here as well about having appraisals for councillors. So they recommend these high allowances.
Well, I've got to tell you that I do appraisals for councils. I appraise all the cabinet and I appraise all the Romford members as well. But it's an individual thing, and not all the groups do it. I know they don't. I do, because I think I should do, so I do it. In fact, it was commented in MJ that I'm one of the only leaders that does do that, because I think it's absolutely right that I get to see what my colleagues' performance is like. I have an appraisal. It's a 360-degree appraisal. I've had one. It was done by the chief executive, the borough commander, the chairman of I think it was the PCT at the time, and so that was independent of anyone in the council. It's outside. They appraised me because I'm at the top of the pyramid. It's very difficult for people to appraise me, so I got people from outside to appraise my performance. So that's there as well. What I wouldn't want to do is at a time when I'm taking £40 million out of the budget, is to implement a system which is going to cost us money to show what councillors do. I think that councillors should be, it's entirely up to them, it's a personal matter, but if you ask me to appraise from my working day, I know you follow me around and you see half the stuff that I do, I'm quite happy to do it. I know that the recorder in the past have done a day in the life of the leader of the council, which they bottled out around about 7:30. They had enough, actually. They went home and left me, and I went on to 11 o'clock like I do most nights. So, a lot of this stuff is, I'll bring you in a second, a lot of this stuff is documented. You've approached members individually. If members individually want to give you that information, it's entirely up to them. It really is. I always look at what other councils do. If you can show me other councils that are recording members' information in this way, or members' activity in this way, I'd be very, very interested to look at it.
I've spoken to many people in other areas. As well, with all due respect, Councillor, you're talking about your role. Your role as the leader of the council. It's different to maybe chairmen of committees. It's different maybe to cabinet members.
Okay.
I just think, as council taxpayers, we have a right to know what our money is going on. Surely each member could provide a job description. If someone asked me to describe my job and what I do, I could quite easily describe it.
As I said, the job descriptions are in the Constitution.
They're not clear, as to how many
they're very
hours.
Clear, actually. They are very clear, actually.
If you could arrange to have them emailed to me, I would love to see them. I also would like to know how many hours are spent within their roles. Some of the cabinet members also have full-time jobs as well. So, are they working 24/7?
Do you have a full-time job? No.
I said some of the councillors,
all of the councillors. I think that it's entirely up to them. I decided when I became leader of the council to give up work and do this full-time because I believe it's a full-time job. And it is a full-time job. I haven't got enough hours in the day to do everything that I do. I think it's very serious, and I treat it very seriously, and people know what I do and read about what I do all the time. I'd be interested to see if other councils I'll instigate an investigation myself to find out whether other councils are capturing members' hours in any way.
It's different. I know each month, I should imagine, is quite different, but surely each member could give some kind of average month or something. So it's just so people know we are paying for that. It's all we're asking.
Well, what I'll undertake to do is I'll undertake to see how other councils capture it. What I'm not prepared to do is implement a system that will cost this council money.
No, I don't think that. Just basically asking what to provide a bit of responsibility.
Well, it's very simple. The way in which the London Council scheme, which 19 councils are now a part of, is worked out. It's worked out on responsibility. So it's whether you're a leader, whether you're a cabinet member, whether you're a Overview and Scrutiny chairman, or what it is you do. So it's worked out in relation to your responsibility. The people that the three independent people that drew up the London Council scheme started from the basis that they looked at what local government were paid on the continent, and then they looked at what was happening in the UK, and they couldn't find a benchmark